Ladies and gentlemen, it's indeed a great day to be in the House of Commons. Last summer, I had the opportunity to travel to Kurdistan in the north part of Iraq. While I was there, I was invited to visit the monument of Halabja. This is where exactly 22 years ago, on the 16th of March 1988, Saddam Hussein gassed over 5,000 people. I promised the survivors at the monument, when we visited the mass graves, that I will do my utmost to get this House, the Canadian House of Commons, to recognize the atrocities that Saddam Hussein and Chemical Ali did against them. Today, I want to thank all my colleagues for lining up with me and standing shoulder to shoulder with the Kurdish community at large throughout Canada, that they're here behind me. And we were able to put the following motion that I will read as unanimous consent. Thank yous goes to everybody, my staff, and every member of Parliament staff that worked on this. This is motion M505, which is as follows. That this House acknowledges the actions of Saddam Hussein against the Kurdish people in Iraq, including the poison gas attack against Halabja on March 16, 1988, the destruction of Iraqi Kurdish villages and systematic persecution of Kurds in Iraq, and condemn this act as crimes against humanity. I'm going to pass the microphone on to Mr. Fardoon from the Greater Toronto Kurdish House in Toronto to say a couple of words.
Thank you, Jim. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being here. Hello, my name is Freedom Rahmani, the great chairman of the Greater Toronto Kurdish House. Halabja and Anfal. Today is the 22nd anniversary of Halabja and Anfal campaign against Kurdish civilians. 22 years ago, in such a day, tens of thousands of innocent people in Iraqi Kurdistan were brutally massacred. The survivors of the gas attacks are today still suffering from its chemical effects. The survivors of the gas attack are still suffering. As of 2010, Halabja was the largest scale chemical weapons attack directed against a civilian populated area in history. Recognizing this atrocity as genocide may not soothe or calm its survivors, but it will definitely help stop future attempts of such criminalities. The Kurdish Canadians were gathered today to ask their MPs, the elected MPs, to support the approving this action of criminality as a criminality against humanity. Many of us today have driven hundreds of miles from across Canada just to show our support and solidarity with members of our legislature to halt and hinder possibilities of future genocidal act against humanity. On March 1st of 2010, the Iraqi High Tribunal has also recognized the Saddam's act as genocide, and this approval were welcomed by the Kurdish regional government in Iraq. Such acceptance by the Canadian Parliament and authorities will help and the helpless Kurdish people to reinstate their rights, and will lead to future integration of our people in the great Canadian multicultural system, and make Kurds feel belonging to the sociocultural context of Canada. I would like to thank Mr. Jim Karigiani, Honorable Member of Parliament, for bringing this motion to the Parliament, House of Commons, and I would like greatly thank all the parties, the Conservative Party, Liberal Party, NDP, and Bloc Québécois for approving such action as criminal against humanity. And on behalf of the Greater Toronto Kurdish House and Kurdish community, I appreciate, and we really today feel more Canadian. Thank you, Canada. Thank you, MPs. I would like to invite Mr. Sartip Kake from Canada Kurdistan Business Council to say a few words.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for this press conference. First of all, I would like to thank all of you, and I would like to thank personally the Honorable Mr. Jim Karagianis, MP of Scarborough Adrian Court, for his courage and determinedly pushing for the human rights and peace process. As you know all, Mr. Karagianis mentioned, on the last August 2009, the Honorable Jim Karagianis and I visited Kurdistan region of Iraq to see the prosperity and the security that the KRG has accomplished within a very short time after the fall of Saddam's regime in 2003. While we were there, we made a visit to the city of Halabja. In this city, it was exactly 22 years ago today that Saddam's regime perpetrated one of modern history's most barbaric crimes. On the morning of March 16, 1988, the Iraqi Air Force dropped chemical weapons on the Kurdish city of Halabja. Over the course of 3 days, tens of thousands of victims were exposed to master gas, which burn, mutate DNA, and causes malformations and cancers, as well as sarin gas, which can kill, paralyze, and cause lastly neurology damage, among other deadly chemical agents. Over the course of 3 days of bombing, at least 5,000 civilians, mostly children and women, were murdered in Halabja. The attack on Halabja was not the only instance in which the former Iraqi regime, Saddam regime, committed mass murder with chemical weapons. On the contrary, it was just one event on large-scale campaign against the Kurds called the Anfal, led by Saddam and his henchman Ali Hassan al-Majid, also known as Chemical Ali, which both were recently hanged for their crime. Actually, I have more speech to come down, but I would like to thank all the members of Parliament to accept the motion to pass the motion M505, and thank Mr. Jim Karagianis and his staff. Thank you all. It's already a historic day for the Kurdish people in all around the world. Thanks. And I would like to present Dara Faraj from the Kurdish League Against Genocide.
Thanks so much, Ricky. Thank you so much for all of you. Today is a great day. I really, as a spokesperson of Kurdish League Against Genocide, thank all members of Parliament of Canada to adopt a motion by recognizing Kurdish atrocities as an act of crime against humanity. We never forget this day. 22 years ago, in this day, like exactly 5,000 of Kurdish people in the city of Halabja has been killed by chemical weapons. And Kurdish atrocities actually has started long time ago before Halabja. And this recognition by the Canadian Parliament will help Kurdish people to feel safer and to build a trust with the other ethnics and nations in Iraq to make Iraq a better place to live, and all the people of Iraq respect each other on the basis of citizenship instead of nationalism or ethnicity or any other doctrines. Thank you so much for all the members of Parliament of Canada who support anonymously the motion, and particularly I thank Mr. Jim Karagianis for bringing that motion. Thank you so much for everybody. Thank you again. And the next person is Shana Jamal from Kurdish League Against Genocide.